for myself, I'm passionate about, I suffered a lot in my life, and I'm passionate about, and needlessly, like a lot of it was needlessly. It wasn't, it was just, there's a shaman a shaman I know spent many years in the Amazon, and he said Jews are very tough problems to solve, because they're all like problems in the mind. He says, when I go out like in the Amazon, when I'm working with people with no food and no money and no like real problems, that's like, we deal with the problems. When we're dealing with Jews, it's like problems in the mind. Like a lot of suffering. It's not, and it's not to minimize it, it's actually they're real, but a lot of them are just, they're in the mind, and they're sometimes difficult to access and difficult to get to. But the other part is that sometimes there's a way out, there's a freedom that's accessible. So that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about truth. I consider myself someone who searches for truth. And there are other things as well, but there's a gentleman who came to Adama several months ago at this point, and he and I have had communication since, and he shared with me, he's been a listener of my podcast for a while. My podcast is called In Search of More, which eventually became the House of More, all connected more. And he shared with me that he grew up he's still he feels that God is out to get him. He's angry at God, but he doesn't know any other way to be other than to be in the mold that he was raised in. I think he has a lot of fear of punishment. Am I heard with this? This may be better without it. Yeah, a lot of fear of punishment, a lot of other ideas that keep him entrapped in his way of life. And part of his struggle has been that a lot of the people he looks up to, and he quoted some people in history, Baal Shem Tov and others, the Rebbe, Rav Nachman, like everyone, he likes the ideas, but then it comes back to Torah over and over. And he likes my podcast, and he still likes what I say. I don't do it as often, but he's like, you're talking more about Torah, and it's like, I'm like, is everyone going, like, what's going on? Like, is everyone going in this direction? So first of all, I should be clear, I don't believe that Torah is the only source of truth. I don't. In fact, myself, I found God in the room of 12 steps, and to this day I believe that the 12 steps is divine truth. That it's divine, it's eternal, it ages well. I think one of the ideas, when you say like, something is truth, it ages well. Like over time, this idea works, like it gets better with age. And when I look at the 12 steps, I went through it many times, and I read it, and I sponsored people, and I've gone back, and I think about some of the ideas there, and it ages really, really well. Ages. Some ideas age well, some ideas don't age as well. So there were different writers and authors and speakers that I encountered on my own healing journey. Two of them, which I'll talk about tonight, maybe some of you have encountered, are Brene Brown and Gabor Mate. And I was so impressed by their work, different books, but The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown really struck me. I read it, I highlighted it, I read it again, I got it on the iPhone, I read it there. I was like, I studied it. I didn't read it, I studied it. And Gabor Mate's In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts as well, I studied it extensively. And there were people for a while that I quoted, like it was enough for me to say that Brene Brown says this. It was enough for me to say that Gabor Mate said it. I didn't have to go further. I didn't have to find their source or their research. It was enough for me. And everyone here familiar with these two?
Yeah.
So Brene Brown, very well known as a shame researcher. When I've seen her talk about politics, I think she forgets everything she wrote about. And I don't want to get into politics, I'm just saying that when I see her speak about it, it feels to me like she's forgotten everything she's taught everyone else about shame. And when Gabor Mate talks about Israel, and I interviewed on my podcast, and at the end when the recording was off, he said to me, you people support Baruch Goldstein. And I said, I don't even mean you people. I said, where I grew up, I said, I'm not even telling you my belief, I'm just saying where I grew up, Baruch Goldstein was considered a terrorist. I'm just telling you that's how I grew up. And he mentioned Ben Gvir, and I said, I don't even know who he is. I don't even know this guy that you're telling me I know about. I said, but what I see is that you're very bothered, right? So this man who's preached compassion, and he does, and preached inquiry, had no question for me and had no compassion. Zero. And I didn't mind so much that he said it to me. I didn't, because sometimes people do things in the heat of a moment. But when we stand up in front of a room, when we decide these are the ideas that we're going to share, and we can still be hijacked by these same ideas, I don't doubt that there's a lot of truth in his writing. I don't doubt there's a lot of truth in Brene Brown's writing, but it's much different when we're bringing a filter to a book than when we're bringing like an openness and saying I can read what they're saying comfortably. Because if some of these other ideas got stuck in there, how do I know that there isn't other schmutz inside this thing? So while I did share that the 12 steps, I say the 12 steps saved my life, but I should be specific that I found God literally in the 12 steps. I grew up in Crown Heights. I spent 20 years in the yeshiva system. I graduated with smicha. I lived in Crown Heights, which I think some others here as well have lived in Crown Heights. Welcome to all of you. And right, steeped in a system that claims to know God, and I did not believe in God afterwards. I did not. I said, if God exists, I hate him. That's where I was with God. But in the 12 steps, I found him. And I think it's one of the most healing ideas that one can come to, is to truly believe that they're a child of God. Right? When someone can truly believe that, and that God is a caring and God and guides us, it's like something inside us heals, and we can lean on that. Torah, however, does make a claim that's slightly different than the 12 steps. The 12 steps does claim to be true. It actually says it makes promises, 12 promises for those who follow the path. The Torah says about itself that if you turn it over and turn it over, you'll find everything in it. So not only is it truth, it's the whole truth. So everything is within it. So I wondered if my dear friend, who's stuck in this prison, where he's can't stand God and he's distressed by all of it, but can't see him any other way out, I wondered if Torah has something to say about him. But in the meantime, we'll let Michal.
I call out to you, my God, from my heart, from the depths. I'm clinging on to what I have left. In waves that rumble and roar, I'm so far away from the shore. I feel alone and in despair. I call out to you, my God, from my heart, from the depths. I'm clinging on to what I have left. In waves that rumble and roar, I'm so far away from the shore. I feel alone and in despair. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. I have no fear at all. I I call out to you, my God, from my heart, from the depths. I'm clinging on to what I have left. In waves that rumble and roar, I'm so far away from the shore. I feel alone and in despair. I call out to you, my God, from my heart, from the depths. I'm clinging on to what I have left. In waves that rumble and roar, I'm so far away from the shore. I feel alone and in despair. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. I have no fear. I call out to you, my God, from my heart, from the depths. I'm clinging on to what I have left. In waves that rumble and roar, I'm so far away from the shore. I feel alone and in despair. I call out to you,